individuals who need to be brought to justice. The reality
well, let me ask you this question, Sammy Hamdi. Let me ask you, Sammy Hamdi. Sammy Hamdi, I understand the point you're making. It doesn't in any way, it doesn't in any way excuse the appalling way that the grooming gang scandal was handled, or the
Hey, what is going on, family? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you are having an absolutely incredible day wherever you are tuning in from. So today we are diving into a moment that genuinely had jaws on the floor, because Piers Morgan sat down with anti-Islam influencer Valentina Gomez, along with journalist Sammy Hamdi, and what was supposed to be a regular debate about her being banned from the United Kingdom turned into one of the most brutal real-time exposures I have seen in a long time. Sammy brought actual government data. Piers brought receipts. Valentina brought, well, you are about to see exactly what she brought. And trust me, you do not want to miss a single second of how this whole thing unravels. Make sure you stick around all the way to the end, because the final exchange is honestly one of the cleanest mic drop moments to ever happen on cable news, and I am going to be breaking down every layer of it as we go. Before we jump in, I would love to know where in the world you are watching from today, so drop your city or country down in the comments, because I genuinely love seeing how far this community stretches. All right, let us get right into it.
Finally, Piers, what a boatload of crap that was, honestly. Just straight up ranting nonstop. Exactly what Muslims do. Just try to confuse you, blow up, and just yell nonstop. Piers, let's be honest. Muslims are a threat to national security. That's why Christians in Nigeria are being slaughtered by Muslims.
Do you know how many Muslims there are in the world?
No, I don't need to know.
Well, have a guess. How many Muslims do you think there are in the world?
Way too many, Piers. I prefer one dog over 100 million Muslims.
Okay. Yeah, that's a disgusting, offensive, and vile thing to say. It's very much on brand for you. But how many Muslims are there in the world?
They like to rape goats. They like to rape little girls. That's normal.
Yeah, how many Muslims are there? How many Muslims are there in the world?
I don't know, Piers. That's not something I care about. How many Christians are in the world?
Have a guess. Have a guess.
Have a guess on how many Christians are in the world.
No, I'm asking the questions. How many Muslims would you think there are in the world?
I already said way too many, 1 billion. And they have 56 Muslim nations.
How many?
They should go there and live in, in their 56 Muslim nations very happily amongst each other.
You describe all Muslims, because you're disgustingly Islamophobic, you describe all Muslims in the most disgusting manner. You call them a bunch of killers and rapists and so on. I'm just asking you a simple question to put these views into context. Do you know how many people you're talking about?
Piers, I do not rape, and I do not kill, and I do not steal. That's something the Muslims
How many Muslims are there in the world?
I already told you.
You say they all do
many.
this. How many?
I already told you, way too many, Piers. Just like they have taken over the UK.
You've no idea, have you? You have no idea how many people you are branding rapists and killers. You don't know, do you? You don't care.
For me to say it's too many.
You don't care, do you? Yeah, you don't care how many there are. You don't care the context of your vile comments.
How many girls have been raped by the Muslim rape gangs?
Piers,
go ahead, answer my question, Piers.
Are you going to try?
I'm talking to Piers
and compare?
How many girls have been raped by the Muslim rape gangs? Just like Mohammed raped 6-year-old Aisha.
Can I ask a question to Valentina?
The grooming gang.
No, I'm not.
The grooming scandal was an utter. The grooming scandal was an utter disgrace, and the perpetrators were finally brought to justice way longer than they should have been. And they were imprisoned for their disgusting actions. And what happened there was a repulsive failure by our justice system to bring these people to account. However, I am asking you, because you brand all Muslims with the same way that you brand the people that committed the grooming gang scandal. You brand all Muslims the same way, but you have no idea how many Muslims there are. There are nearly 2 billion Muslims in this world. And what you're doing when you talk about them as a community of people
Let's
is
say
you're
it's
tarring
1 to
all
2 billion Muslims.
You're tarring
Piers
all
Morgan.
2
Yeah,
billion.
that's still
all
too many.
2 billion. You are tarring. Let me finish. You are tarring all 2 billion people with the same brush of being killers and rapists and so on. To which I say to you, that is the purest personification of vile bigotry, racism, and Islamophobia. Why don't you focus on people of all religions
They follow a
who commit
book
heinous
that
crimes?
calls for the murder of Jews, Christians, Hindus, and infidels just because we don't abide, we don't bow down to their stupid rock, Piers Morgan. We don't do that in Christianity. In Christianity, if you want to be an atheist, if you want to worship a cow, if you want to worship a table, you're allowed to do that without getting killed. Because right now in Egypt, a 30-year-old man is being held in prison because he's about to get murdered by the government of Egypt because he is no longer a Muslim. He is now a Christian.
This right here is exactly why people like Valentina Gomez keep losing every serious argument they walk into. The moment she opened her mouth, you could already feel the trap closing on her, and she had absolutely no idea it was happening. Valentina said this: "I prefer one dog over a 100 million Muslims." And you have to understand something. When a person says that on national television, they are not making a political point, they are not making a religious critique, they are not making a national security argument, they are revealing the actual operating system of their brain. That is the mask falling off in real time. And the wildest part is that she does not even realize she just disqualified every other word she was about to say. Then Piers asked her one of the simplest questions in the world: how many Muslims are there on this planet? And she could not answer. Not because the question was hard, but because she had never bothered to think about the size of the group she spends her entire career attacking. Her response was, "I already said way too many." That is genuinely the laziest possible answer a public figure can give. You are branding an entire civilization of people, and you cannot even ballpark how many of them exist. This is the part that blows my mind. People like her always claim they are the truth tellers, the brave ones, the only ones willing to say what nobody else will say. But the second somebody asks them to back up the foundation of their worldview with actual numbers, they collapse. Piers nailed it when he told her, "You have no idea how many people you are branding." That sentence right there should be played in slow motion because it exposes the entire grift. And then Piers finished her with one of the cleanest lines I have heard in a long time. He told her that what she was doing was the purest personification of vile bigotry, racism, and Islamophobia. That is not a host being dramatic. That is a host realizing he is sitting across from somebody who genuinely cannot defend the position she built her entire brand around. And the second she felt cornered, what did she do? She pivoted to something even more ridiculous to keep from answering. Classic deflection. Classic panic.
It's just not true,
And when
Piers. If you
call-
don't mind,
when
can I
you
say
call-
something
when
here,
you call-
Piers? Piers, if you don't mind, can I say
Yes, I'll bring in Sammy Hamdi to respond, yeah.
Piers, I just want to. So she keeps talking
Sammy
about
just
the
rants.
idea. She keeps talking about this idea of rapists and the like. Piers, I went to the website of the Office for National Statistics and the Bureau of Justice of the Americans, and here you can see these are all the victims saying who their perpetrators are. And here they say that it's people that they know, it's their family members, it's their friends, it's their acquaintances. Only this small number over here is done by strangers or what she calls grooming gangs. You can see the overwhelming majority are done by those that they know or those or their relatives. Nobody says this is white Christian sexual epidemic. If you look at the population, she says that they're being taken over. This is the population of Muslims in the UK and in the US. In the US, 1.1%, in the UK, 6%. Tell me, where is the takeover that's taking place
Way too
here?
many.
Piers, when you look at the crimes that are committed against Brits, and I'm a Brit, I'm born and raised here, against our sisters and our daughters and the like, here are the crimes committed by Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris. Nobody says this is white Christian rape. No one says this is a white Christian problem. Everybody says crime has no faith and it has no race. This was committed by vile individuals and justice should be delivered. Piers, when you look at the Office of National Statistics and you see the number of people incarcerated in the UK, you can see that they are overwhelmingly white. But nobody says that this country has a white criminal problem. No one says that this is a Christian problem. Everybody says this is a criminal problem by vile people because crime has no faith and crime has no race. Piers, when you look at the mass shootings in
Sammy,
America
Sammy.
that kill students and kill
Okay,
their children,
Sammy,
this is the
I
data
completely
from the
agree. I
Bureau of
completely
Justice in
agree
America.
with-
This is by white shooters, this is by ethnic minorities. No one says that in America they have a white Christian shooting problem because they know crime has no faith, they know crime has no race, and they know that it is individuals who need to be brought to justice. The reality
Well, let me ask you
Piers,
this question,
the
Sammy
reality
Hamdi.
is,
Let
Piers,
me ask you, Sammy Hamdi. Sammy Hamdi, I understand the point you're making. It doesn't
Sammy,
in any way, it doesn't in any way excuse the appalling way that the grooming gang scandal was handled, or the failure of our justice system to bring those perpetrators who were almost exclusively in that scandal case, they were British Pakistani men. It doesn't excuse
Sammy,
any of that,
Piers,
but you make a
I
valid point
do
about
not
the
care.
totality of statistics. My question for Sammy Hamdi is about Valentina Gomez. Would you have allowed her into the UK?
Piers, part of me believes that it would have been good for Valentina to come and see the real Britain. The Britain that belongs to the family
I
that
don't
I
need
am
his
in.
permission.
The English blood that runs through my kids from Stenning, Brighton. It would have been good for her to come and meet the wonderful giants of Britain who are Muslim, like Timothy Winter in Cambridge, like Paul Williams, like Paul Keeler, like Suhail Hanif.
No,
It
thank
would have
you.
been good for her to see the realities of what Britain is like and how Muslims live in Britain and contribute to society. Because when Tucker Carlson finally saw it, instead of regurgitating the hate that he was doing in 2001,
I've
Tucker
already met
Carlson came
patriots
out
like
and
Tommy
said, I
Robinson
was
and Christian
wrong and I
Craig
didn't know that Muslims love Jesus too and they believe in the second coming. When Candace finally got to see the reality, she came out and said that I was disgusted with myself for not looking in further. I believe Valentina is still young. She's in the early stages of what Tucker Carlson was. I'm asking her, skip the years that it takes to figure it out. Go and see what the world looks like. Go and see the reality, because your message of hate didn't work.
And here is where the wheels fully come off, because Sammy Hamdi did something that almost nobody does in these debates anymore. He brought receipts, actual data, actual sources, not vibes, not anecdotes, not viral tweets, real government statistics that anybody can look up tonight if they wanted to. He pulled numbers from the Office for National Statistics in the UK and the Bureau of Justice in the US, and showed something that should be obvious to anyone who has actually studied crime data for more than 5 minutes. The overwhelming majority of these crimes are committed by people the victims already know, family members, friends, acquaintances, not random strangers from some imaginary invading army. That single chart destroys about 20 years of right-wing fear-mongering in one slide. Then Sammy delivered the line that should be tattooed on every honest person's forehead. He said, "Crime has no faith and it has no race." And that is such a clean, undeniable point. Because if you actually applied the logic that Valentina uses for Muslims to literally any other group, the entire country would lose its mind. He pointed out that UK prisons are overwhelmingly white, but nobody screams about a white criminal problem. He pointed out that mass shootings in America are predominantly carried out by white shooters, but nobody calls it a white Christian shooting epidemic, because we all instinctively know it would be insane to label a whole community by the worst people in it. Yet somehow, when it comes to Muslims, that exact logic gets thrown out the window, and then Sammy delivered what might be the most damaging stat of the entire night. He said, in the US, 1.1%, in the UK, 6%. Tell me, where is the takeover that's taking place here? Let me break down why this matters. The entire conspiracy that drives this anti-Muslim panic is the idea that there is some massive demographic invasion happening, but the actual numbers show a tiny minority population. There is no takeover. There is no replacement. There is just a manufactured panic designed to get clicks and donations and rally turnout. This reminds me of how every moral panic in modern history has worked. In the 1800s, Irish Catholics were the existential threat to America. Then it was Italian immigrants. Then Japanese Americans got locked in camps during World War II over the same exact fear. Every single time, history looked back and said, yeah, that was shameful, that was wrong, those people were just trying to live their lives. And every single time, the panic mongers swore this group was different. Spoiler alert, they never were. Then Piers landed the question that completely shifted the debate. He asked Sammy, would you have allowed her into the UK? And the answer Sammy gave was so disarming and so generous that it made Valentina look even smaller by comparison, because Sammy's message did not work.
Abdul Sayed, the Senate candidate for Michigan, a right-winger turned up in his rally and told him, I'm here as a right-winger. Abdul Sayed put his hand on his heart and said that I am so glad you're here. I'm so glad we can talk with one another. I'm so glad that we're standing together. Marjorie Taylor Greene says this is no longer a battle between left and right. This is a battle for America first. And the final point, Piers, I'll finish on this. Valentina's brother serves in U.S. forces. That Valentina, instead of focusing on the 1% of American Muslims who aren't the problem in America, perhaps she should focus on the 42 million Americans living on SNAP who can't afford basic groceries. She should focus on the servicemen who return to America and sit in the freezing cold on Magnificent Mile in Chicago. She should focus on those ordinary Americans going bankrupt as a result of medical bills. There's a reason she was rejected in Texas, because no one resonates with that hate. There's a reason why she was rejected in Texas, because no one buys the hate anymore. What wins in America, what wins in the UK, the reason Reform lost in Gorton and Denton is because Zach Polanski came with a message of hope. In America, Mamdani came with a message of hope. And even Donald Trump is, even Donald Trump, before the mess with Iran, even Donald Trump, when he won the election, declared that he had established the biggest coalition of Muslims and Arab Americans and the like.
I just want to say,
hope wins the rain, not hate.
Sammy Hamdi, that's enough, please. I would simply say to Valentina Gomez that sometimes when people show themselves, you should believe them when they show you. And your reaction to the English-born Home Secretary of my country, Shabana Mahmood, who's a diligent, hard-working, intelligent, decent person born in Birmingham in the Midlands of my country. Your reaction to her, calling her a dirty Pakistani Muslim, was one of the most disgusting things I've seen or heard in a very long time. And it showed you for what you are. You are a disgusting, Islamophobic bigot that hates 2 billion people on this planet simply because of their religion.
They hate me too.
And shame on you.
They hate people like me. They hate people like you. They hate people like your wife.
We don't hate you.
You're only back.
I promise we don't hate you.
You're only back on this program. You're only back on this program because you were banned from my country. I say good on you, Home Secretary.
Because my message,
you're a more decent person
than
Valentina Gomez could ever dream of being.
I wouldn't be
I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, this is the moment where I have to give Sammy Hamdi serious credit, because instead of doing what most people would do, which is dunk on her, mock her, humiliate her right back, he pivoted to something that is way more devastating than any insult could ever be. He pivoted to the actual issues that ordinary Americans are getting crushed by every single day. Sammy said she should focus on the 42 million Americans living on SNAP who can't afford basic groceries. And let me tell you why that line hit so hard. Because it exposes the entire scam of professional outrage culture. People like Valentina build whole careers screaming about a community that makes up barely 1% of the country, while tens of millions of actual Americans cannot put food on their table. Veterans coming home and freezing on the streets of Chicago. Families filing for bankruptcy because somebody got cancer and the medical bills wiped them out. Those are the things that actually destroy a country, and the hate merchants do not say a single word about any of it, because outrage at minorities pays better than fixing real problems. Then Sammy dropped the dagger. He said there's a reason she was rejected in Texas, because no one buys the hate anymore. And this is the part that should keep every fear-mongering grifter awake at night. The voters tried it. They walked into the booth, they looked at the hate and fear candidate, and they said, no thank you, by a margin so embarrassing it goes down as one of the worst defeats in modern primary history. The market for this stuff is shrinking, and they know it, which is why they keep getting louder and uglier, trying to claw back attention. And then Piers ended it with the kind of moment you almost never see on cable news anymore. A host actually telling the truth to a guest's face. He told her, "You're a disgusting Islamophobic bigot that hates 2 billion people on this planet." No softening, no both sidesing, no pretending it was just a difference of opinion. He called the bigotry by its actual name and refused to dress it up as anything else. But the kill shot was when Piers reminded her of why she was even there. He said, "You're only back on this program because you were banned from my country. That is poetry. That is karma in HD." The only reason this person had any platform at all that day was because she had been formally rejected by an actual government for the things she says. Her entire relevance in that moment came from being a banned person being given pity airtime. That is not winning. That is the opposite of winning. What do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe. and I will see you in the next video.